99.5 FM WBAI New York, WBAI.org. For all the people tuning in on the web, welcome back to a new episode of Black Seinfeld, the show about nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
It's the one and only Trinidadi Panamanian Poppy, Rude Boy, Top Gunner, Suck Panyamada, Giovanni England. Hello, everyone.
What's going on, folks? This is Bashtin. This is recording live from LA. Gio's in Brooklyn, New York. Back again with another episode.
Yes. And what you're hearing right now, 20 years, Bashtin. Philadelphia Freeway, the album from the one and only Freeway. Great album, great debut for Freeway. Great song, of course. Screw Philadelphia. Just want to put that out there right now because they just completely destroyed the Giants in the playoffs.
Yeah. It was nasty. Yeah. I don't even watch football like that, but I was at the bar after work eating something because I didn't feel like cooking dinner. And I just, turn my shoulder and I see the TVs on. I was like, oh, Giants is playing. If I was in New York, I probably would have been watching it because my little brother watches football. And I'm just seeing it's like, oh, it's 0-7 first quarter. Well, by the time I finished eating, then it was like 0-14. It's like, okay. By the time I got home, settled down, relaxed, the game was over. It was disgusting.
Yeah, man. Once it always goes to like 0-21, then I really get scared. And man, the Giants just couldn't get it done this time around. But I am proud of what they've accomplished this season. I honestly didn't think they'd even make it to the playoffs, let alone even make it past the wild card game. So shout out to the Giants this year. I am proud of everything that they've accomplished. Hopefully the Birds lose in the NFC championships to the 49ers. I'm looking forward to that. But anyways, man, like I was saying, this album's 20 years old. This song is 20 years old. And we are now in a weird time within our lives, Bashtin, where we could look back 20 years and we can actually pinpoint of the first time we heard certain records, such as the Freeway, What We Do from the Philadelphia Freeway album. And how do you feel about that?
Well, I kind of reminisce sometimes on the early 2000s and essentially how I got into music. How I got into music was Lauryn Hill, Miseducation Lauryn Hill, 1999, I was like 4 and listening to 5, 6, 7 years old. But it was pretty much 2003 when I physically owned my own CDs, something like Outkast, The Love Below, and a speaker box. That's like 20 years old too.
Yes.
So just reminiscing on that album, I'm thinking it's like, wow, when this came out, the energy off this album, because it has the hit singles, and this was like the highest peak Outkast has ever reached, even though they've been out for such a long time. You have to reflect, like, it is old now.
Yeah.
You remember when it was new? Now it is old. People could just talk about those days. And, I do think people tend to have revisionist history, which I like to say. People kind of forget things or misremember things.
Definitely true.
Which is a good sign, too, because that means you had a lot of emotion when it was coming out. Either you said you love 808 and Heartbreak, or you said you hated it. At the end of the day, whatever you kind of go back, you're going to say, like, yeah, people loved it. Or you could say, like me, everybody hated it. So
not everyone hated it. There was a certain kind of Kanye West fan that was waiting for Good Ass Job to come out, and when he didn't drop Good Ass Job and he dropped 808 and Heartbreaks, there was a huge disconnect of certain Kanye fans who was like, what the hell is Kanye doing? What is this auto-tune stuff? Why is he singing? What is this crap? Me and us, since this was still like 2008 and we were like 13, 14, around that time.
Yeah,
I still thought it was different and I thought it was cool.
I thought it was interesting, but it's not what I wanted. Though, when you let things just like chill, like I said, like 2003, Speaker Box, The Love Below, when you let that just like chill a little bit, and we didn't have the digital landscape where it's like, I could change albums whenever I want. You have these CDs, and you're going to rock these CDs for the rest, because CDs were expensive back then. I'm talking about like $20. Maybe we get it the first week, it'll be $12. But after that, it's $20, $22, $25 expensive. You're going to let that CD rock, and then it gets good by the 6th month.
And Lord knows if you even decide to get the deluxe edition, that's even more expensive.
Well, you ever bought a deluxe edition?
Did I ever? Yes, it was the Usher's Confessions album. Actually, it was the deluxe edition.
Interesting. I got the regular one of Confessions, and I still own that one. I actually just looked at it the other when I was in New York,
Oh, nice.
a month ago,
And,
and I think I bought two deluxe. One of them in high school. One of them was the Big Sean deluxe, and the first album because that's off his
okay.
mixtape era, and the other one was Tyler the Creator. I think it was Goblin.
Goblin had a deluxe edition.
Yeah,
Oh, that was the
the
gray,
gray.
yeah, the gray where Tyler had the black eyes and the upside down cross, because the regular version was just like some random white dude,
Yes, exactly.
right? With the
Yeah,
green background.
yeah. It was a lot
Good
of
time.
covers. There's a lot of covers, but yeah, that was the deluxe that I bought back then.
Right. But on the topic of hip hop, because you mentioned that Outkast double LP, not since that album has a rap album won album of the year for the Grammys. Fun
Was
fact.
that the last rap album for album of the year?
That, that was the last rap album that won album of the year. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
In the lore of Outkast, many like for me personally, like I don't care. I think every Outkast album is as good as the next. I do have my favorites. I can say like
Right.
Stankonia is like amazing, but I will always
It
say
is.
the double LP is just like magnificent because that's why I got on first.
It
But
is.
the regular Outkast fan that listened to them since 1994 would say, out of all the albums, that one winning, it felt like, you know, music just gave it to them in a way. It's like, yeah, okay, you've been around for a long time. Here's the award. It's like Nas
Well,
winning a Grammy.
you know what? Because that album is interesting because yes, it's a double LP, and yes, you have one side Big Boy and one side of Andre 3000. I'll say, in doing it that way, I feel like it's Outkast is the most experimental Outkast has been,
Hmm.
because of you're getting two sides of the duo, especially with Andre 3000, where wasn't much rap in it. It was more so like the psychedelic stuff
Melodic
and
singing.
melodic
Yeah.
vocals. I don't know if he was still with Erica Badu at that time,
No, he
but
was not.
he wasn't. So it had more of that feel, and it felt like Big Boy had more of the like rap ish.
Party,
Right.
live band. Yeah, very
Exactly.
lively South music. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and in the scope and this in the discography of Outkast, yes, Thank On You is like it's like the climax, but for me as an Outkast fan that's actually gone back to listen to their discography, probably one of the best discographies ever if we cut off Idlewild.
True.
That didn't exist. I'm more of an Aquemini kind of guy. I in love Aquemini. One of these days, I'm gonna play Spotty Dopalicious, one of my favorite tracks ever. It's like 7 minutes long, just reggae influence, just good vibes. I'm definitely gonna play it. But yeah, love Aquemini. That's personally my favorite album, and it's
So,
still wild to think that
yeah.
we were alive at a time where Rosa Parks sued Outkast for the song off of Aquemini being Rosa Parks because she didn't approve the name being called Rosa Parks. I think that's still wild to this day that we were alive for that, but we just didn't know because it was like 99 and we didn't care about that stuff yet.
And that's something we could talk in terms of when we're reflecting on these music. A younger person who is like maybe 12 or 11 could say, "Oh, that's your old music," because that's old music because this is back then.
It
Because if
is.
someone tries to use their sound in today's world, because of like, we have the backpack era, push that to the side, and then we have the current era, which is like more trap influence era. Even though there's more to hip hop besides that, many would say that it would be like an old school style. And old school for us is
Definitely.
still the 80s in our mind, right?
Right.
Anything like 80s hip hop, like De La Soul. I wouldn't call Tupac like old school, but now I might have to.
Right, because in our minds, we think of the 90s as like 10 years ago,
Yeah,
but it's not that anymore. It's like it's 30 years now. Like for example, I started watching That 90s Show, right, which is a spinoff of That 70s Show. And it's still wild to think that although this was set in a time that we were born in, it's interesting to see the technology that was out at that time, and actually being there and remembering a time where cellular phones were bigger than what they look like now, and they had different personalities, and the internet isn't as fast as it once was once upon a time. It's just strange to see that. And now that we're in modern music and we're listening to a lot of songs and beats that are sampled from the early 2000s, which is fairly 20 years ago, it's still insane it's really hard to grasp that concept because we were so young at that time, but we were still able to know where we were when we heard these records. So back to like the Philadelphia Freeway record, an album. This was early 2003, and this was a time where Rockefeller was still dominating, but 1 month later, there is a gentleman that finally came out with what people say was his debut album on Shady Aftermath, and we're gonna get into that when February comes around because, listen, man, I know Drake is like the one of the biggest rappers known to man, and he's had like this 10-year long run, but you just had to be alive when this guy came out with his album, man, and just only the 3-4 year run he had, okay, I will put up against with Drake, okay, because everyone wanted to be this dude when this man came out with this album, and he came out with the hits, all right. And I remember, I look back on that time with fair fondness, all right, because I also remember when Jay-Z was telling people, yo, push out music as much as you can, which is why you had the Freeway album come out as early as it did, because they were afraid of one man, and that one man changed the trajectory of New York hip hop forever.
It's all about landscapes and like when they owned this era, because we could reflect back on that whole era, and that's when we were like in fourth grade. It's like that's old school now.
Yes,
that's old. That's old school now. Anything once you hit the 20-year mark, it's referred to as old school. So if someone samples, and that's something we said, like when DJ Khaled sampled Miss Jackson, and and I said it's probably the worst way to use the sample. It was fine then because it's an old song. Because if you think about it, like hip hop, especially in the 90s, when they sampled records, they sampled things from their childhood, which was the 70s. Right. So that's what was popular at that time. So we're getting there. It's gonna be every 20 years it gets pushed back. Soon, they're going to sample the Ice Spice record. Munch. They're gonna sample Munch in either 10 years or 15 years. I'm calling it here first.
It's crazy. I look back on these times now, and I wonder about the people who grew up in the 70s and grew up with their kind of music, and they listen to hip hop and stuff, and they listen to the samples of those music, and I knew how some of the older generation perceived hip hop for the samples and stuff, and some of them would be like, oh, they're just taking this song and they're just making it into something different, but this is not, the older record is so much better. And I see myself doing that a lot with a lot of these early 2000 sampled record now that I'm hearing to this day, right? And I'm just like, man, the older records sounded so much better right now. So it's sort of like this weird like full circle,
and I want, I'm the old man yelling at the sky now. It's like back in my day, we would have cut the sample and matched the drums with it. When I'm sure we only heard like the good 10% that came, like the good actually like 1% of music that actually came out around that time. Then you got the 99%, which is straight up garbage. Someone could have used that sample too, and it was just trash because no one heard it.
Right.
It fell in the forest. No one was there to pick it up and put it on record. Hence, it doesn't exist. And that's what music is. The concept of music is it's recorded on record, hence it exists. If it does not exist on record, it never happened.
Yeah, that is fair.
Yeah, that was my first speech at speech class. Music started in 1920s. Music was invented in the 1920s because that was when they created the first record. or maybe like 1880s, like stethoscope phone, whatever. But anyways, that's kind of the concept. Music is still relatively new.
Ah, so all of the music in the past, right, that we know now, it's like Mozart and Tchaikovsky and Beethoven and stuff. You don't really hear the actual composers playing the record. You just hear the composition of like just other people doing the composition. So yes, it's Beethoven, and yes, you're hearing the composition of the original composer, but you're not hearing the composer. So did they really drop music?
Well, it's close. We're
Woo!
there. I would say because his name is on it. Did he really do
Mm.
it? Like I ain't see like 1,000 people writing books saying I went to the Beethoven concert,
Right.
right?
What if they had ghost writers? What if they have ghost compositions? What if there's like a Quentin Miller for Beethoven or for
Everybody
Mozart?
wore white wigs in that time. I could have just
Mm.
called, take it off for a month, and put my understudy to do it.
Oh,
Right? We're talking about back in the day. You will, in order to master something, you have to work for someone for 10 years, right? And the whole
yes.
concept is you have to master their style. You have to copy it line by line. If you're an artist, you have to make sure you can make those fakes. Because the artist's gonna make the first one. He's gonna have 10 copies to sell. You're making the 9. He made the first one, and he taught you how to paint, so you know how to paint in his style, right? So you could sell the 9 other copies.
We are getting really deep into this music theory right here. This
Well,
is real music theory, people.
Western music theory, yes. But yeah, in terms of music, it now exists because it's on a recorded physical, and you can actually reflect and go back to it. So we know how Whitney Houston sung that song. We know how Dolly Parton sung that song because we could hear the
Right.
original version. So if she hears it today, it's like, okay, she's older, her range is a little bit different, but this is how she does it. But back in the 60s, when the first record came out, this is how it sounded like. And that's kind of
Oh,
what we're missing with the whole Beethoven and everything. It's different for art because it's a paint. It's
yeah,
physical.
you actually get to see it.
You see it, you know. So yeah, it's pretty
That's a
interesting.
really good theory, man. I like that's a good argument. I like this.
That was my first
Dang.
speech in a speech class. Like, yeah, music is new. Anyways,
You definitely got an A in that.
I got a C because
What?
speech isn't about the speeches. That's like 50%. The other one is like the test you have to take about the theory of some other nonsense that I never read, and that's why I got a
I've,
C because I never read
I've
the the readings. I never did the readings.
See, this is how you know we had different speech teachers when we went to college because I never had to take like a formal written test on speech. Our last our last project, our last grade was based on a speech that we made.
This is
Like
the
we never read
problem.
any books. We never did any of that. We just learned speech. We learned how to speak. We learned how to speak in front of a large group of people.
Dude, this is the
That's it.
problem with CUNY and like working with like PhD candidates as like professors
Hmm.
because they tend to do more work than the professors that have been there for like 10 plus years. So,
Uh,
well,
man.
what's going on with New York? How's New York been?
New York for the past month, man, it's weather-wise, it's been weird, Bashtin. I'll say that. For the longest time during the winter, we have not had any sort of snow. It actually snowed a little bit Wednesday morning into the afternoon, but the snow just disintegrated once it hit the pavement. It was a snow rain mixture, if you will, and a lot of meteorologists are calling this like a real record where we haven't had any significant snowstorms or snowfall at all. Now it's been different for upstate New York and the Pacific Midwest. I know what the hell happened over in the West Coast, especially in like places like Seattle, that whole ice storm that's been happening. But here in New York City, we've been getting way more rain than we've been getting snow at all. It's been raining at least twice a week since the start of January, and the weather other than rain has just been very cloudy, very gloomy, and this is my favorite kind of weather. But I see how it's affecting a lot of New Yorkers because we haven't been getting that much sun as of late. I love it. I think it's awesome, but a lot of people are it's affecting their mood. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a lot of rain music I've been playing for the past month of January.
That's interesting.
It is. Like we've been getting more rain than you Californians had for those 2 weeks. We've been getting a lot more rain than that. We've been getting a lot more rainfall this winter than we have during the summer,
That's
which
funny
is
you said
nuts.
that because last night, in terms of like, it's not a weather, but last night there was an earthquake in California. I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
it on your trending, but I definitely sent you the article
Uh,
this morning,
yeah, you did.
and I thought it was pretty funny because it happened at 2 a.m. And as a New Yorker, I think the only time we ever had an earthquake was the earthquake that was in D.C. and we had the
Yeah.
aftershock.
Yeah, it was that little treble.
It was the treble. It's like if you knew, you knew. If you didn't know, someone had to tell you. It's like, did you feel that?
Yeah, I remember I was reading a book at that time. I think this was during the summertime, and I had to read a book for the fall semester of high school. And I remember feeling that treble, and I legitimately thought I lost my mind until my sister came in and it's like, "Hey, did you feel that?" And my dad, he woke up because he thought we were shaking the bed to wake him up for work,
Mm-hmm.
and he realized like, oh no, everyone in the house felt that this was a treble, and it went on the news immediately after. So I didn't feel like I was crazy anymore, which was good. But how is it over in California? Did you feel it at 2 in the morning?
So I'm trying to tell myself or convince myself that I woke up before the shake,
Mm-hmm.
or I woke up while it was shaking, and I see my whole room moving left and right, almost like a hand thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? So in my mind, I'm still a New Yorker, right? From
Right.
what I remember in physics, when a big truck passes by your house will shake, but you know it's a truck because you hear it outside. Same thing if a plane flies over your house, you feel the shake a little bit.
Feel the rumble,
You feel the
absolutely.
rumble, but you know, like, because it happens like once or twice a week, so you know where it's coming from, and that's kind of how I feel like an earthquake is, but probably times 10. But when you feel the apartment shaking and you hear the room, and the first thing that came to mind is like, oh, a car either crashed into a building
Mm-hmm.
or it's an earthquake. And I heard on the other side of my apartment, the car alarms going on. It's like, okay, it was definitely an earthquake. So you do your thing, you go under the door stomp, and you're like, wow, did that really happen? Did that really happen? Especially this year, the first thing, like, damn, I'm really in the ghetto. I'm out here in the earthquake central.
All right. This is probably a horrible question to ask because I genuinely don't remember. What are you supposed to do in an event of an earthquake? Are you supposed to like go under a table and just duck, or
Well,
what are you supposed to do?
um the strongest construction or part of your house will always be your door.
Okay.
So just standing underneath it is probably the safest bet. I think your tables too, but depending on your table, I have a glass table. Ain't no way I'm be under
Oh yeah,
that.
it's over. Yeah, it's over, bro.
I do it for the aesthetics, not for the safetyness. So,
Ah,
uh,
got you.
but yeah, you should be under your door stump because that's what I know. I'm probably going to do some little bit more research. Now I'm out here and I actually felt an earthquake. Because usually there'll be small ones that you can never really feel because it's as strong as a truck passing you by, right? I
Right.
think that's as strong as like a 2.1 or something, or a 1.5. But this was a 4.3, 4.2. And I like, yeah. One of my friends lives in LA too. He texted me this morning, asked me if it woke him up, if it woke me up. So yeah. So this
Man.
feeling that I have a tiny PTSD to it, but I'm chill.
Right.
I'm chill.
Okay, I'm glad you're good. I can't imagine what I would feel like if it's 2 in the morning. I felt something shaking because it's always not, when it's nighttime. Sometimes your mind plays tricks on you if you're one to sleep in the dark and stuff. You always your eyes play tricks on you. You might think you see something, but you don't really see it, and it's not really what you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So having just wake up at 2 in the morning and just have things just start shaking. That can be a bit traumatic. I can't lie. I can understand where the PTSD would come from that.
Yeah, it was a it was a learning experience. You always got to, because I do understand the fault lines and how it's on LA and how it's under LA and how everybody's expecting for a big one to happen for the past couple of decades. I only know this because I'm a Flying Lotus fan, and he kind of discussed this in the album Flammogramma, or
Mm-hmm.
as the concept of it, and that's why he had the movie of it too. So it's like, damn, I'm moving out here. I'm probably going to have that mental small PTSD that's in the back of every LA person's mind. It's like, no, one day will happen. Like the thing for New York, the only thing we gotta worry about is like the tides taking the
Yeah.
lower Manhattan, right?
Tides definitely, and ever since Hurricane Sandy, people do not take any sort of superstorms as a joke anymore.
Yeah, that was because I forgot the name of the storm before Sandy, but people took that too seriously,
And nothing happened.
and
I
nothing
remember.
happened. So when it happened the next year, a lot of people didn't take that seriously, and that's what killed a
Exactly.
lot of people. So now,
That's what a lot of people.
same thing for the snowstorm. It's like the one time that De Blasio didn't send out all the trucks, we caused panic. It felt like Atlanta. Then after that,
Right.
it's like, even if it doesn't snow, your car will still have salt rocks on it. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. During the Christmas weekend when it was really cold and it felt like negative something degrees out, there was definitely salt on that pavement. There was no joke about that.
Just in
Absolutely
case.
not.
Just in
Just in
case.
case, man. You never know. So that's what's been going on here in New York as far as weather, but in as far as entertainment goes, the boy has returned to, and the boy meaning Drake, Champagne Poppy, finally did his 2 night Apollo Theater performance, and I have a bit of the track list that he had prepped up, and I'm not gonna lie, Bastion, this is a good little set list because he didn't just play, new records from like Her Loss. No, this man went back to the old stuff. Okay, he played Wu-Tang tracks from, if you're reading this is too late, he played Wu-Tang Forever, Trust Issues. You got a little Marvin's Room in there. Say Something. You remember Shock Value 2 with featuring Timbaland, that album.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yep. Feel No Ways, Practice, Jaded, Jungle, Best I Ever Had, Over, uh, Hell Yeah, Effing Right,
Over. Wow.
Headline. Yeah.
That's a high school classic.
Drake really went through, his evolution as an artist. And, Drake is also one of those artists that, we've seen him from the beginning because Drake started in the late 2000s. And it's weird now that we're 28 and we've seen Drake when, we were early teenagers and he was there through high school and college. It's really weird. But I'm really happy he was able to fit in some of the older tracks, Energy, Know Yourself, started from the bottom, Passion Fruits, One Dance, Controller.
I
So
assume that's how most of his concerts are. You think he doesn't go that far back in his catalog?
I don't think so. I don't think he goes that far with specifically when he goes on certain tours. So like the last tour Drake really went on, I know it doesn't seem it's actually really long ago. It was 2018 when he did the Scorpion tour.
Mm.
It was Drake and the Three Migos. He hasn't done a tour since. So this year he's gonna finally go back on tour. And when Drake tours, he does some of like the old songs, but he does some but when he does the old songs, he does like the big old songs. He doesn't do all of that crap, okay? Wu-Tang Forever, he doesn't just do that all the time. Okay.
Quick question. You saw Danny Brown with me, right?
I did see Danny
And
Brown
then
with you.
after that was like Death Grips.
And
That
after
was
that, it was Death
that was
Grips.
2019.
That was 2019. Yes.
Oh, okay, so I've seen Danny Brown perform. Like, not, I know comparing Danny Brown and Drake doesn't make sense, but they have a long catalog of music. So when I
Yes.
saw Danny Brown in 2013, 2014, he's playing music from the new album and his hype stuff. But when we got to 2019, he was playing things from Triple X, and
Mm-hmm.
that's like further back. So I was thinking it's like maybe that's how it is for Drake. Maybe every other year he gets a little more further back in his catalog because he has so much music now that he doesn't know who's coming to the concert. It could be the old fans from those days. And as using Danny Brown as an example, it could be either Triple X like me, or it could be old or the new fans like Atrocity Expedition. So it's kind of varies, and this is before I forgot what was his newest album that Danny Brown came out.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? Produced by Q-Tip. So
yes,
it's like as you get older and you have a wide range of music and a lot of singles too, maybe by like 10 years deep in your career, you won't mind going back to your mixtape songs that people like, you know, want to hear from you. I don't know if Wiz Khalifa does that because he has like, what, 8 or 9 mixtapes from our youth.
Right.
That he could choose a random song on, but I'm pretty sure his current fans wouldn't know, like, deep down Flight School mixtape music from there. You know, that's something that came to my mind listening to your track.
That was there was pre-tatted Wiz Khalifa, and then he was fully tatted Wiz Khalifa mixtapes.
No, it was like tatted and fully tatted.
Right.
Yeah.
He was slightly tatted.
Tatted, yeah.
Then afterwards, he was like fully tatted out.
Yeah. From taper to locks.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, you also have to realize when it comes to Drake, he has such a wide stretch of fans too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like there's different fans. So especially you want to play for the New York crowd, you want to make sure you give everybody a little bit of everything. So you couldn't say that your fan base or your appreciation wasn't, you know, given that night in a way.
Well, I'll say this. I'm going to give you the sort of fans that were there because this is important. During his set, he brought out Dipset, and what should have been a very hyped crowd to see Dipset in Harlem. I felt like the crowd didn't really, the crowd let me down. Okay. I don't know if it's, you know what? I don't even know if it's the crowd's fault per se, but you know, I do look at Dipset very different ever since the versus battle with the Locks back in 2021. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's just me. That's just that is me. I'm sorry. That is just me. I'm sorry. Listen, I still love Dipset. I love the songs, and they played the classics. You know, they came out to "I Really Mean It," and I'm thinking, you know, they're gonna go crazy.
That's fire.
Right? I'm thinking the crowd exactly. I'm thinking the crowd is gonna go crazy. They did not go that crazy at all. All right, some people in the crowd knew what it was, but not the whole crowd. But because
you know why
Drake has, you know, he has a different fan base. He does, and plus, you also got to think about how expensive these tickets are.
You have the best way to describe it is to reference when Jay-Z did the B-side 2. Not the first one. The first one was fire because he did it for 2 nights. He did it for, the first one was for the ticket sellers and the second one was for like the actual neighborhood, right? But the B-side, I think it was Carnegie Hall.
It was Carnegie Hall, and those tickets were $800 a pop.
Because we went to Carnegie Hall 2 weeks later because we went to see MGMT. So it's like, oh, Jay-Z performed here. This is cool.
Yes.
Like 2 weeks ago, we missed it. Anyways,
newly renovated Carnegie Hall, by the way.
Newly renovated. And we referenced that. And one of the things people were saying is like the crowd didn't know his lyrics bar for bar because most of them could either be, you know, studio people, friends of a friend, or even the media public. So they're just there so they could talk about it.
That's fair.
And though, of course, as you said, the fans that can actually pay for tickets, you know.
Exactly. Because Drake isn't cheap.
No.
Especially if he's with that set list that he's doing. Yeah, that ain't cheap.
Yeah. So have you ever been to the Apollo?
I've actually never been to the Apollo Theater. I've always passed the Apollo when I've been to Harlem, but I've actually never been in the Apollo Theater. I think I have to change that. I should go just once, just to say I did it. You know, but I don't know. I sort of look at it now as like a touristy
old school thing. Yeah,
like but just a touristy thing now. You know, like I understand the significance of the Apollo and what it represented, and of course amateur night and who played there and who got their start, and who, you know, really blew up because of their Apollo performance. But now I just look at it as like just like another thing people do in New York now. But there is one person, Bashtin, who was there at the Drake concert. It's America's well, not America's, it's New York's favorite mayor. Mayor Eric Adams was there at the Drake concert. And I'm just like, dude, what the Eric Adams? Like, I expect Eric Adams to just show up to anywhere now. Anywhere where there's a party, anywhere where it's like a scene that it's very you can't miss in New York. I expect Mayor Eric Adams to just be there.
I find it very intriguing, in my opinion. A mayor is there at events, but certain events is like the mayor has to be there, right? Let's say they open a new park, right? They open a new park. He's going to be there because they're opening a new park in the city. But you don't expect him to be at a Drake concert at the Apollo.
Yeah, man.
What was it on like a Saturday or?
It had to have been during the weekend one,
like a Sunday night or something.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like, come on, Mayor. Like, what are you doing? Have you seen the reports about like the police officers using technology to record everybody leaving the concert?
I've heard something about that, but I'm not too 100% informed about what exactly happened.
Oh, well, it's something that is under, or maybe I could talk about it later this year once I read up more on it. But the police officers today are using a lot more, especially New York NYPD police officers are using a lot more technology, and they're using, the facial recognition software. So they're taking and getting as much data as possible in order to make their jobs, quote unquote, easier. So that's something to look out, New Yorkers. Like when cops are recording everybody, they're just taking their face for data.
Yeah, there's cameras everywhere in the city. It's pretty hard not to find a camera here anymore. Street lights, traffic lights, MTA, but some of those don't work. A lot of those don't work. Let's be real.
A lot of them is for a sense of security, not actual security.
Exactly. The robotic canines, they have a camera to them now.
They're not really out in the street like that anymore, which is interesting.
They're not.
But I won't be surprised when they get back around with that new budget. So
I'll wait till I talk about a movie that I saw recently. Technology has a huge part to play within that movie that I'm going to talk about later on, and it's really interesting. It's interesting to discuss. But what else has been going on? Well, not so much in New York, but there was a little bit of hoopla that happened this past week, Bashtin, when we were recording our return show. And I didn't want to say anything about what was going on Twitter because it was A, so sudden, but also B, I didn't know how real it was. And what it was, everyone on Twitter started saying that Don Lewis, the ex-husband of Carol Baskin, was found alive and well in Costa Rica, according to Homeland Security. And I wanted to wait this one out, and Bashtin agreed with me because I wanted to see how real this was, okay? So for those of you who don't know, 2020, the worldwide phenomenon known as Tiger King came out, and Carol Baskin, she is part of Big Cat Rescue. She helps save tigers and all that crap. She has a husband named Don Lewis that, was a very wealthy man, and he one day went missing, and people suspect her of killing her husband allegedly and feeding her to the tiger.
Allegedly. Foul play.
Allegedly. And then all of a sudden last week we saw his name trending because, again, people said that he was found alive in Costa Rica. And so when doing a bit more digging, one, I didn't want to talk about it because I wanted to see how accurate it was. But two, I don't trust anything until credible sources come out to confirm this, okay? So I don't trust the New York Post. I don't trust anyone on Twitter like that, okay? I want the reliable source. And you know what the biggest reliable source for me would be with a story like that? TMZ. I want TMZ to come out to confirm this. And I waited a day, and guess what TMZ confirmed? That Don Lewis is still missing. And apparently, the reason why this started conjuring up again was because of Tiger King season 2, which not many people actually watched. Okay, and so in Tiger
The
King
hype
season
was
2,
dead by that time.
the hype was super dead because there was no need for a Tiger King season 2. Like, there's nothing more to discuss.
Joe
You feel
Exotic
me?
was in jail. It's like, what, you're gonna do? Interview him from the jail every episode?
Right. Like, basically, Tiger King season 2 was talking about how successful season 1 was, and again, we were in lockdown, so all of America watched Tiger King season 1, right? But in Tiger King season 2, right? Carol Baskin, of all people, claimed that, Homeland Security did a wellness check on Don Lewis in Costa Rica, since that's where he frequented a lot of the time, because he had his pilot's license and he would fly down to Costa Rica. And Homeland Security confirmed that Don was alive and he was doing well. Again, this was according to Carol Baskin, right? Which was a huge red flag. And since TMZ cleared it up and said that, and played the clip, which was on Tiger King season 2, that's what made things. That was a huge red flag, because it's coming from Carol Baskin. Those of you who don't know, people accuse her of killing her husband and feeding him to the tigers, allegedly. So I thought that was a bit interesting. And not I will say this, for a split second when we were doing the show last week, I wanted to see a picture of Don Lewis. I'm not gonna lie, I really did. And for a split second, I was thinking, I was a bit remorseful for accusing Carol Baskin, but as soon as TMZ fixed it up, I'm like, okay, and kills your husband.
The only thing I think about the word Costa Rica is the TikTok meme. It was not a meme. It was like I don't know what Nigerian movie. It's like, I'm about to go back to Costa Rica. Have you seen that meme recently?
No, I haven't.
Okay. It was just, anytime someone talks about Costa Rica, I do feel like, oh, okay, it's a place where rich people go to play and hide their money sometimes.
Ooh.
So
okay.
It's like, maybe he is there under another name, but a place like Costa Rica, you cannot hide your, like, if you die, right, and you have a death certificate, you can't really do anything. It's unoperable. You can't really move or function outside of that. Like, your money is tied up and lost and given to your next of kin. So,
and remember, when Don Lewis went missing, that money, all of that money went to Carol Baskin.
Exactly. It was still there.
She didn't break off any money for Don Lewis's kids, nothing. Carol Baskin was the sole person, since, she was his wife at the time. She was the heir apparent to all of his money, all of his assets, to everything.
He didn't have a will.
Didn't have a will. So again, it raises the suspicion still to this day. I mean, I don't really rock with Joe Exotic like that, but on this occasion, like, I understand where he would be coming from. That's just me.
Yeah. I don't know. It comes off like a hater.
He does come off as a hater, but
no, he is a hater. But like,
absolutely,
to say like, oh, you killed your allegedly killed your husband, comes off as a hater.
But also fed him to the tigers, though. That's where it gets a lot more interesting.
It's old plot for the old days. Old days is 3 years ago, but
yeah, it is. I'll never forget when she was that year too. She was on Dancing with the Stars, and I'll never forget, it was on commercial break where Don Lewis's ex-wife and kids were on the screen, and their representative, they were like, yeah, Don Lewis went missing around this time. And then they flat out said, hey, if anyone has any information on the disappearance of Don Lewis, or do y'all know if Carol Baskin was involved at all? Like, they held nothing back.
I think it was only in Florida, right? Or it was
yeah.
Okay, only in Florida. Yeah, because he disappeared without a trace in August 1997 and was declared legally dead in 2002.
Yes.
So, I don't know. As you said in the beginning of the show, it's old school now.
It is old school news, but I just wanted to give a little bit of fun news before we get into some serious stuff, a little continuation of what Bashtin was talking about back in August of 2022. But before we get to that, let's take a little pause for the cause. Let's take a little musical break. And since we were talking about Carol Baskin, I feel like it's only right that we play one of the best diss tracks of all time. And that is from Joe Exotic. Here is Here, Kitty, Kitty. Welcome back to Black Seinfeld, the show about nothing. That was Joe Exotic with Here Kitty Kitty, one of the best diss tracks of all time. The song sucks, but hey, I think it's still pretty funny.
Buns.
It is an awful song, but you know, it makes sense for the context within what we were talking about. And
if you remember, he didn't sing the song.
Oh no, absolutely not. He never sang any of his songs. He got someone else to do it for him.
Yeah. And then he just did the music video.
Exactly. The video is priceless.
It's insane. Only insane man would do that, to hire a ghost singer. Because I thought it was legit him. So, oh, he got some. All right, he got some lungs out there, but it wasn't even him.
Well, you know, it's pretty common in Bollywood films where, you know, someone else will be singing the Bollywood songs and the actors would just be mouthing the words.
Oh, they don't got triple threats out there?
Yeah, and well, some are triple threats.
The old school ones?
The old school ones, yes. Shah Rukh Khan, he does actually sing, but a lot of them, it's pretty common that they don't sing the songs at all.
Interesting. We need more triple. Fact. I didn't know that. That's interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Well, yeah, man. I you know, I'm half Indian, so I grew up on that.
No, I didn't think those 3-hour films, Bollywood films.
Oh man,
like there's so many of them. At least most of them will have to hire the same singer to get that high caliber song.
And intermission is a thing too in Bollywood.
Yeah. Maybe they should stop the intermission and just put like a picture of Subway runner while they could watch the movie, so they won't get confused, so they won't get tired. Yeah. Or maybe someone squeezing an object in order to feel comfortable as they watch a movie. I don't know if you noticed that on TikTok. That's been a thing.
No, I haven't.
In order to divert your attention, while you're watching a video, they put something in the background of the video in order for you not to lose focus.
Interesting.
Like, you never watch like those weird Reddit things, TikToks where someone's talking, like reading a Reddit post, and then there's like, was it Subway Surfer?
It would be Subway Surfer, or someone like popping a balloon and that's full of beads in it.
Exactly. So that
I love those.
That's the thing. It's for your attention span, because you're not going to stay there and focus. So you have to watch a secondary video, something that doesn't have any audio and it's just visual, where you won't get bored.
That makes sense.
To an extent.
Okay. I definitely see where you're going with that.
Because we don't have focus. If you don't find the focus within the first 6 seconds of the video, you'll lose me and I'll move on to the next thing. That
is very true.
You can say that it's always been a thing. But for videos,
especially now with technology too, and just social media in general,
it's one swipe away to move on to the next thing. It's not like a click where it's a YouTube page and it'll load. It'll take a minute and a half, then there's a commercial. No, it's a swipe. So instead of like giving 2 minutes for a 10-minute video, I give it 6 seconds for a 2-minute video. So something to think about.
Well, it's
Bollywood should do that.
Well, it's interesting that you're bringing up technology and social media, Bashtin, because I'd like to pick off back in August of 2022, where you discussed not the downfall of Silicon Valley at all, by no means, but we're starting to see a little downward trend within the tech industry, where there's been many of layoffs, right? I don't know if you remember that episode back in August of 2022, where you brought to my attention where companies like Salesforce started, laying off a lot of their employees. Crypto.com has been laying off employees, and I don't know if you know this, but that trend is continuous. It's continuing to happen, and it's happening now to a lot of the big tech companies that we know, maybe love, but definitely we are indoctrinated to use on a day-to-day basis, such as Google. um, I use Spotify, Microsoft. They're laying off so many workers, Amazon, and it really goes back to the pandemic once again. See, we're starting to understand and see the results of what happened during the pandemic, because during the pandemic, because everyone was at home and they had to rely a lot on their technology, they had to rely on Amazon. Companies like Amazon, they hired a lot more people, and they created a lot more divisions because the money was sweet back then. But now that everything is starting to integrate back into the world, people are going back outside, people are going back to the supermarkets. We're starting to see the cuts starting to rain down on certain companies, and Amazon being one of them. What are your thoughts on this?
It is very interesting on nothing has changed. It's only funny. I say it's interesting because in the beginning of the year, I've seen a lot of videos, a lot of posts saying this year is going to be a lot different. Many of these companies are going to start hiring again. And one of the first videos I saw was Meta. They said Meta, aka Facebook, is now hiring again. So that's a sign that many of these companies are going to start opening the floodgates for a job market, and then more people will get hired. I felt that video was too early. We're still in January, by the way, people.
Yes.
Anybody telling you, oh, this year's going to be different, it's too early to tell. You kind of could understand and feel the vibes by April. Because that's how it really works.
That's fair. Let's get into the second quarter.
Let's get into the second quarter first to see how the first one goes, because the first one could be a pump fake. Yeah, that's something I learned when I was trying to either day trade or crypto invest. Just because something is going high, even though it went down, it was down for a long time. Just because it's going high, it's the pump. It's a pump fake. It's still going down. Do not touch that stock. Do not touch that investment. Okay, the IPO was a pump fake in order to bring in investors, but by the time you were able to get the money for it, it was flat dead. Now, the tech industry, just kind of following up for what I said a couple of months ago, and I actually do have the notes where I was talking about Shopify, 7-Eleven, Victoria's Secrets, JP Morgan, Compass, Coinbase, Carvana. Carvana is a company that we could talk about now as a company that's just so much in their debt, and they just could no longer do what they're designed to do anymore because of the pandemic. And in one of the New York Times article, I recommend for anybody to just quickly go read. It's called "For Tech Companies: Years of Easy Money Yield to Hard Times."
Yes.
I think Carvana was worth $80 billion. Now it's worth less than 1.5, because they are created with the idea in order to make buying used cars much easier, where you don't need a third party. Well, you don't have to go into a car shop in order to buy a car from them. So now you could just buy it online, see it in person, triple check so it's good to go. Then, pick it up and you could drive off. And then it'll be easier for you personally to sell your car. So trying to be a disruptor. Last week's episode, we discussed Glass Onion, where the whole concept of that movie was being a disruptor. Well, we could also connect it to this episode saying all these tech companies want to be disruptors.
Absolutely.
Now, they get all of this money from the beginning of the idea is created. A bunch of investors will throw money at the wall. It's like, okay, make me some money. Once they IPO, they pop off, get those stocks. You sell those stocks, boom, you're making money. The end goal for most companies is to be bought out by another company.
Yes.
Right? So all these investors are throwing money at it, hoping one day either they're the one buying companies or they will be bought by someone else. Gio said the right thing. It was the beginning of the pandemic. A lot of people made a lot of money. Carvana, a lot of people were buying cars. Don't forget the microchip shortage also infected the car market. So most people would, instead of buying a new car because they didn't have any, would buy a used car. And because so many people were buying a used car, Carvana said, okay, we need to triple stock our inventory.
Yes.
So we can never sell out. Yeah, that's the problem with companies. If you sell out, it's like a bad thing because you're losing out on money.
The
So
same thing Amazon was doing, because remember when every sort of podcasting equipment was sold the hell out, because during the pandemic, it seemed like everyone wanted a microphone, everyone wanted a damn Yeti, everyone wanted a snow globe, everyone wanted some sort of podcasting equipment. And so they were sold out in those first couple months of the pandemic. And then after that, they decided to stock up on certain equipment and certain things. And now that things are looking somewhat back to normal, what to do with all these stuff now?
I just had something that came in my mind, and I have to say it, and I promise I'll come back to what I'm going to say, because I feel like I'm going to forget.
Please.
Remember the blackout? Well, we weren't there. The major blackout in New York City that happened.
03?
No, further back in the 70s.
Oh, okay. I actually don't know that.
That was okay. You watched what was the hip hop show on Netflix? The Get Down.
Oh, the Get Down.
You watched that show, right?
Dude, yes.
Remember the blackout episode?
Yes.
That's a real thing.
Oh.
That really did happen. The blackout episode was the episode where all of New York City had a blackout, and a lot of people went to rob stores.
Yes.
Those products that people robbed were the DJ equipment. So the next day, everybody and their mom was a DJ because they were able to steal, and a lot of people that wanted to be a DJ finally got their equipment. Hence, hip-hop is now blossoming into different ideas, and people could now get into it. Now, I only bring that up because I always thought to myself, I wonder if that could ever happen to something, and I think it happened to podcasts. Because me and Gio, we went to college. Radio podcasting was a newer thing.
It was still cool to have a podcast.
It was still cool to have a podcast. But I'm telling you, once the pandemic happened, everybody and their moms got a podcast, and most people that should not be near a microphone were talking, and they were able to gather a fan base, and that's why you could feel today the quality of podcasts has been not diminishing in terms of the conversation. Everybody has fun, but also the topic gets repetitive and also disturbing, misogynistic, and all this type of stuff. So that's kind of something I was thinking about because the pandemic created today's current podcast.
But also, you have to also think about what was very popular during that time of the pandemic, and that was good old Clubhouse. Where yes. those conversations were definitely discussed during Clubhouse. And I remember during that time at its peak, it was the value of Clubhouse was in the billions. It was like $1 billion.
Yeah.
Like this new thing that was in beta
for
mind
months.
You, that thing was in beta for months because the tech team was so small.
Yeah.
And people really didn't care about that because of how many people within the industry that was using Clubhouse. And, you got to credit this to Black people, of course, because Clubhouse was trending like almost every damn week during that time.
So before I forget, so that's kind of something that came to my mind. The blackout, the pandemic create something that more people will be more in tune, and hence we have so much podcasting today. Just in case you ever wondered why now there's a lot of people that have podcasts. Right.
So and now we're seeing the aftermath of that, especially within the tech world, because a lot of those divisions, like Spotify divisions, they're making a cut, a lot of like 6% cut of their company, and a lot of that does come from like the podcasting division. Like that's getting cut, not fully, but a good chunk of it is getting cut now. A lot of the shows that they've had, or a lot of the producers and stuff, a lot of those people are getting cut as we're starting to see now.
Because the problem with growth, and kind of going back to Carvana, is
saturation.
Well, not even saturation. It's just getting debt. So according to the New York Times articles, it acquired Carvana acquired another car auctioning company for $2.2 billion, and took even more debt at a premium interest rate, because that's something that was different compared to 2019. The 2020 is that our interest rate was increasing all of 2022. So as the interest rate is this much higher, your premium you have to pay monthly is extremely high. That's why you have someone like Elon Musk selling his Tesla stocks all the time, because he bought Twitter at such a high interest. He has to probably pay $500 million a month in order to keep the company afloat. So the banks won't just up and possess the company. Well, I don't know if that's how it works. It's not a house, but he has to make sure that he pays. That's why he constantly sells his Tesla stocks. Now, that's kind of how Carvana works. Now, in the terms of business, and we could go back to House. What was it? Clubhouse, right?
Clubhouse, yes.
The reason they're in beta for such a long time, and concept, they were not IPO'd, but they were valued on some random article as $1 billion, because they never IPO'd. So
it never did.
It never did. So you can't say like they lost money. They lost theoretical money, and that's the problem today. Everything's theoretical. So a company like Carvana was worth, quote unquote, $80 billion, not because they had $80 billion of converting assets or making $80 billion in profit. They were just valued at $80 billion.
Yeah, because of how used it was at the time and how talked about it was.
Because it was a disruptor.
It was exactly, back to the glass onion. Yes, it was a disruptor. It did something at a time where, it was something that everyone wanted to be a part of. And especially with Clubhouse, because I remember you needed an invite to get in, and I remember people would sell their invitations to people so they can get on Clubhouse. It was like that crazy back then. Like, it was nuts, man. And then I'll never forget it, Bashtin. What were you gonna say?
No, continue. Then I'm just gonna go over something.
And then once the disruptor realized that, here's this competition that actually has money that's actually going to do the same thing that we're going to do, because we failed to we didn't want them to buy us out. Once I saw that writing on the wall, I knew immediately, okay, Clubhouse is over. It's done. You guys are done. And that was Twitter with Spaces.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense, because in my opinion, that's a proper way to grow as a company. It's not to jump extremely fast. Because let's say you start a company, right?
Yes.
In order to expand, you're going to take more investment money, and then you're going to hire more workers because you want to grow at a faster rate. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. There's a Silicon Valley, I think it was in season 3, when they made a joke. It's like, why should we take millions and millions of dollars from investors when we could take less money so we could actually work on a way to be profitable? Now, if you could look at some of these companies, and one of the companies that's been around for quite a while that's never hit profit is Uber. Uber has never hit profit as a company. That's why its stocks has stayed the same for such a long period of time.
Even within its 10 years of existing.
Even when it's 10 years of existence, all around the world, there are many countries. They're in Mexico right now, causing upheaval over there. And they've never hit a profit. They just never fully figured out how to turn this into a profitable company, because there's so much things they need to focus on, right? Because you got to pay out the drivers. You also have to make sure the servers work at all period of time, make sure the application works, because if something's messed up on either the user or the driver's end or Uber's end, the whole thing collapses.
And you also have to think about the different cab laws within each state that they're in and country that they're in.
Exactly.
Because I'm sure they're all different as well.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if that like really affects Uber themselves or the driver, because working at Tesla, I was selling a lot of Model 3s to a lot of cab drivers in a way. Yes. Like, they want to be cab drivers.
I've seen the transitions.
Because I'm going to ask you that. Have you ever took a Tesla cab driver?
I have.
Have you ever, this is random question.
Sure.
Got car sick from it?
No.
Okay.
It's only been one time I've been in a Tesla yellow cab.
Okay.
One time.
One time. So the
Yes.
best way to explain that is because New York City created a law where they will stop giving taxi license to regular cars and will only give it to electric. Hence, a lot of people just focused on buying Model 3s, Model S's, and Model X's. And Model Ys too by the time I left Tesla. So a lot of people are focused on buying those vehicles. So hence that's why you have a lot of those type of taxis.
You know what's hot too in the taxi game right now? A lot of wheelchair accessible cars too.
Yeah, because there's just not enough of that. And that's a problem as a company like Uber.
Toyota Siennas and all that.
They try to create a landscape for everybody, but you, the person, the driver, you'll probably be more interested in doing Uber Black because it's higher end customers paying a higher premium for a premium vehicle. Why would I drive a Honda Civic or even worse, Nissan? Any type of Nissan.
Nissans like that, man. Nissans is reliable.
A Nissan Sentra, okay? Like looking crazy in the Nissan Altima, picking up people in Queens, dropping them off from the Bronx. You know, they're looking wild out there.
Is it a blue Nissan Altima, huh?
No, it's an orange one.
All right, that's sick.
No, it's a RAV4. I was joking. But yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. Like, that's a Toyota RAV4. That's another popular car too. Anyways, a lot of these companies, they expand too quickly. They're not profitable, and when they're hit by something like the pandemic, which is like a breaking point, which is a shock to the system, and let's say they did well, they're going to add more money to the pot. But because they weren't able to hit that same profitability, as many conservatives will say, a lot of people got comfortable using government money. Well, we were spending it. We had money to spend. We were bored at home, and most of us were working. And we're just spending money because we had the money to blow. Like, I'm home. Yeah. I could actually chill and actually do something. So I'm gonna buy a new bass guitar like I did. So I bought some stuff. Anyways, people bought things, and companies made a lot of profit. They upsized the company.
Yeah, they expanded.
The year after, not a lot of people are buying much because, one, we're not getting as much money. Not a lot of money is in the market like it used to be, and all of us decided to learn how to save money. I thought at the same time.
I thought you were also going to say, and also the government realized a lot of you mother truckers stole some of their money, so they're going to go get that back too.
No, it's funny because if you didn't make it hot, they would have forgiven you.
Yeah, but the problem is
no. That's what I'm trying to say. They made it hot, but yes. I promise you, they forgave a lot of people. They forgave the forgave.
I'm sure.
So the government putting money into people's pocket is not what caused this. It's the companies that said we want to pop off and make more money next year when they should have just said, let's look at what we did in 2019 and base our future earnings on 2017, 2018, 2019, and not just the pandemic 2020, which is the shock.
Right.
So when you take all that in 2021 too, because 2022 is a year everybody realized we didn't make 2020 money. 2021 wasn't even close.
Right.
So in 2022, we're just going to start firing people in order to make the small increments of money. But also, one last thing before, if you want to say something, the concept of layoffs is just a business maneuver, and I think GM was definitely one of the bigger companies when they changed the CEO in the 80s. That was the first thing he did was do layoffs. It plays with the market because that means it kind of tricks the market into thinking that, this company fired a lot of people, hence it has more money to work with. Not necessarily true because you're still going to spend that money, but elsewhere, right? And two, it's an old theory. No one really knows if it works, but companies still tend to do it. Is it good or bad? No one really knows because nothing positive comes out of it because you're still going to spend that money. So,
yes. Yeah. And I just want to close with saying although we're talking about this stuff, I don't want to make it. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, these companies like Google and stuff are in huge financial trouble, because they're not. Okay, they're really not. It's not that bad. You're not going to see Google close down, although there might be under fire of being accused of being a monopoly, but that's another conversation for another day. But that trial is going to be starting very soon. But I just want to preface by saying that none of these companies are in huge major troubles, so you're not going to be seeing the end of Amazon by any stretch of the imagination. So I just want to put that out there. So titles like, oh, there's trouble in the valley, I'm like, dude, relax, it's not that serious.
Well, I remember when you brought that title up to me, the first thing I said was, it's not that serious, right?
Right.
But I'm thinking, going I'm going a darker direction.
Go for it.
Going a darker direction while we have time. I think I said this in the show many times, and it's your first time hearing it. One of my favorite classes I took in college was operational management, because I looked at that class in a more political lens. The class was just discussing how to make operations much easier, especially in a factory. If you look at Ford's car, like why they were one of the best car companies at the times, because they figured out how to do the assembly line. Big woohoo. Every single year, you could improve the assembly line to the point where you no longer need to build the cars in the United States. You could just outsource it. Now, what about the engineers? What about the coders? What about all the people doing all the hard work, getting paid six-figure bands, right? Living in San Francisco, New York, Seattle, all these high-end areas, LA, right? You want to move to Texas until you don't pay a lot of income tax. Great. And this is kind of what I see talking about the dark future. They just export everything across seas. Because that's what they currently do now. There are some teams that will have a whole team in India, right?
That is true.
Because they're going to pay them a lot less rupees down there.
Definitely. Philippines,
same skill set. Those guys are good as us, because shoot, we learn most of it on YouTube, and a lot of people in India are the ones that are doing the YouTube videos, if tutorials. They rather, instead of paying you $130,000, they rather get a team of 8 people and use that $135,000 on a team of 8 people outsourced.
Yeah.
So once more companies do that, that's the direction they're all going to go. So they're going to have a small team here. They're not going to have that beautiful lifestyle in the life of a Google employee, where they have a place for me to eat, and I could just plug my computer and work anywhere I want on the Google campus, right? No, they're going to shut that down.
That's what Apple's been doing, Bashtin.
Sell the space.
They've been shutting all that free stuff down.
Yeah.
That's how they've been able to survive.
Use that money to open like a small shop somewhere across seas and say, yeah, this is your space. You come to work. Your 10-hour shifts, 5 days a week.
In Indonesia.
That's the dark timeline I see. I see corporations just like, especially the CEOs that have a lot of personality and excitement. Of course he'll hire 5,000 people in the United States, but he's going to hire like 8,000 people elsewhere, and they're going to do most of the work.
That is very true. I will definitely agree with you on that, because I also remember being on some of the Chatty House little chat rooms or whatever, and I was learning about how to grow the podcast and all that stuff. And a lot of those like real successful podcasters that you've never really heard of, and it's for a totally different demographic, they flat out said, yo, we outsource everything. We don't edit anymore. We don't do any of that. We outsource it to someone not in America.
Exactly.
That is the thing. But also I want to take an even darker approach to a lot of this stuff too, because I remember one story that we told back in 2022 where Google had this AI that they were working on, and the Google employee got fired because he called this AI that they were working on a sentient being after chatting with it for a long time. And now we're starting to see recently at a McDonald's in, I believe, Texas, where It is a fully AI operated McDonald's, so there's no real workers, there's no employees that work at the McDonald's, and it's all just robotic. Okay.
Yeah, there's no front facing employees. Everybody's in the back just stocking it up and just watching it, making sure it works.
Exactly. It's and also like the Amazon stores as well, like the Amazon 7-Elevens too. People are in the back, but like nothing, like you just pick what you want and you go, like, and they charge it to your account. So we're starting to see that now, and we're starting to see how technology is sort of starting to wean away some of the not bottom class of workers, but you know, some of the not even low class workers.
No, what did we call them during the pandemic?
Essential
there
workers.
We go. See, I know you're looking for the word.
Right, exactly. They're starting to wean away from the essential workers with AI.
Yeah.
There's a great movie that talks about this in a comedic way, a horrific way. That's what we're going to talk about right after this song, which is appropriate because it's one of my favorite songs off of one of my favorite albums. This is MGMT T-Slam, which is Time Spent Looking at My Phone. We'll be right back with more Black Seinfeld. Welcome back to Black Seinfeld. That was MGMT with Time Spent Looking at My Phone off of the 2018 album Little Dark Age. And hey, if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe to us. Subscribe to us on all of our platforms. We're available for podcasting as well as being on radio. So please go to Spotify, go to Stitcher Radio, go to Apple, iTunes, go to, where else are we at? TuneIn, Podbean, Pandora, Audible. We're available on all podcasting platforms. Hey, we just talked about Google Podcasts. And also, please subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Black Seinfeld NY, or just at Black Seinfeld NY. I know that is that a thing now, the Google handles, or they just get rid of it?
No, it's still there, but it doesn't help us. So just type in Black Seinfeld on YouTube. You will find us eventually.
Okay, great. But also, follow us on all of our social media platforms, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all Black Seinfeld NY as well. And if you enjoy the show, if you have a comment, if you want to send us a message, if you want to be on the show, make sure you're really cool. If you want to send us music, if you dare, please hit us up, blackSeinfeldNY@gmail.com. Am I missing anything else?
You're good.
I am good. Great. So winding out the show for today, feels like, damn, this went by super fast today, Bashtin.
Yes, sir. Compared to last week, which felt like forever because we didn't do 4 weeks of episodes. So yeah.
Word. Well, there's a movie I saw recently, Bashtin, that was making a lot of waves in the month of January and even before that, because movie marketing has become a lot different nowadays, right? Where I'm starting to see movies marketed in ball games. I'm starting to see movies marketed just randomly in the middle of Times Square. And that movie was M3GAN. And I remember seeing just dolls dressed up like M3GAN in different sporting events. It was similar to what they were doing with Smile, the horror movie Smile, where you were watching like a baseball game and some random person in the background of the crowd was just smiling directly into the camera. I thought that was clever marketing. And M3GAN was doing something similar where we had a lot of dolls dressed up like the doll M3GAN and going around different basketball games and baseball games, and they're walking around the city. And I thought they're coming up with elaborate, creative ways to get people talking about going back to the movies and just watching movies in general, because
which I'm against.
What's that?
Which I'm against.
I know, Bashtin. We know how you go. I know how you get down. All right. But anyways, I think it's clever to marketing. Bashtin, you were a marketing major, so you should give a nod to a lot of these, people who are trying to get people interested in going back to the movies. And
I appreciate all of them, but some of them are fake. And the one that I'm going to call out is Avatar. You're using energy from 10 years ago because that movie looked really good in 3D, but not a lot of people are going to watch it. You know what everybody's watching instead? This movie, M3GAN, and the new Puss in Boots movie.
Yeah, I've heard so many good things about the latest
Exactly. No one's talking
movie.
about Avatar. I don't even know who saw
No.
it. Lies, all right? The amount of people that saw The Rock movie when he played a fake superhero are the same people that saw the Avatar movie, okay? I'm calling it out. All right, Hollywood, I see you.
Anyways, normally in the month of January, it's called Dry January as well because a lot of movies that come out in January are normally bashing the reject movies. I don't know if you know this. A
Yes,
lot
I
of
do.
crap movies come out in January. If you want to go see a crap movie, go ahead and go see the new House Party movie. I've not watched it, but I know it's I know it's crap. It's not good, just from seeing the commercials. But anyways,
I'm
I
not.
rest.
I know a couple of the writers from Atlanta wrote the movie.
So
That means they're funny.
nah, I don't buy that because there's so many movies that'll be like, oh, from the writers that brought you.
Atlanta.
Exactly. They'll
Atla-
do that crap and they'll be like, oh, some of these guys wrote Atlanta, so it gotta be good.
no,
Nah,
no,
that's
they
how they
they wrote Atlanta since season 1. I know the I know those dudes.
okay, but that's how they get you though, Bastion. So I don't take that lightly. I look at it and I go, yeah, so what? All right. So what if you wrote Atlanta? That doesn't mean anything to me because this movie could be crap. Okay. All
True.
right.
True.
But anyways, I rest my case with that. But there was one movie that caught a lot of people's attention. That was the movie M3GAN. And the reason why this movie was catching a lot of people's attention was because of some of the trailers that she was in. And one of the trailers was this dancing robotic, psychotic killer robotic AI thing. Think of Chucky's psychotic AI robotic sister, right? And when actually watching the movie, what I saw was a very clever, unapologetically funny. There's a bit of dark humor, but also definitely had horror elements. And um, the story in the film definitely took me by surprise because I was just thinking of some just weird ass campy sort of ode to Chucky, but also ode to like yeah, but definitely ode to Chucky, because of course he's the killer doll that we all came to know and love and has so many sequels after sequels after sequels. But this M3GAN here, it's definitely a take on technology and the dangers of technology, especially with how we incorporate ourselves within that technology. Because I'm not giving away with what the plot is by just saying, it takes there a lot of discussion on this movie deals with grief, right? The loss of parents, right? And the whole reason why M3GAN was created was because the little girl, Katie, lost her parents in a car crash, right? And so
You giving spoilers?
we're giving a bit of spoilers. I'm not gonna give all away,
Mm-hmm.
but here's the reason why M3GAN is the way that she. Here's the reason why M3GAN came to be. The little girl Katie lost her parents in a car crash, right? And Katie's aunt Gemma, who's played by Allison Williams of all people, who is slowly becoming one of the queens of horror. For those of you who don't know who Allison Williams is, the evil white girl from Get Out. There you go. That's her. So Gemma, she's a toy creator, right? And she's definitely married to her job. So, finding out that, sister's gone, her sister's dead, and, her brother-in-law is dead, and here's Katie, she sort of unwillingly becomes Katie's legal guardian. And of course, and clearly she isn't ready. So to sort of, help her grieving niece out and sort of, find some sort of like pseudo guardian to like help her out, she creates M3GAN, which is this like super AI robot that can be her friend because Katie's kind of awkward. And the issue with AI, Bastion, is that you know they continuously learn about things, and what happens when you don't have any control of that AI that you created. So that's basically the plot of the story, and it just goes to show of sometimes we use technology as a sort of coping mechanism, but also like as a substitute to 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 do the things that we don't want it to do, even though the intention is pure and the intention could be good at times, but also that intention is to rid yourself the responsibility of what you're supposed to do at times, and what happens when that technology is a lot stronger than you and is a lot better than you, and can do some ish. What happens when you're not in control anymore? I think that's some of the message of that film, which makes it a lot deeper than I think a lot of people going into the film thought it would be. You know,
Sounds interesting.
it is definitely interesting. Like it does get deep at times, but also it's still a dark comedy. There's M3GAN. She has a lot of one-liners, a lot of quotables. I don't know if you've seen the Twitter threads of the opening weekend when M3GAN came out. I was definitely on those threads talking about it with people, and people love M3GAN. And this is definitely a series that can be somewhat of what Chucky is, because Chucky never dies, right? And M3GAN, because she's AI and because she's artificial intelligence, she can truly never die. Bashtin. And I think that's what's going to make this franchise stick around if they decide to keep it around. But I think it's good if they just stop it now. Like, they don't need to do this anymore. Like, just leave it where it is at the cliffhanger. That's it.
Well, it's a Blumhouse production.
It is a Blumhouse production.
I say Bloom. Yeah, Blumhouse production, and they're just looking for the next cash cow, and I think they found it. Insidious series created so much from it, right?
Yes.
So this is the next thing. Sorry, Gio, you're gonna expect maybe 4 more. This is the new Ice Age.
This could be the new Ice Age, man. Unfortunately, but I was quite honestly shocked on how good it was, because I was expecting crap, and this only had a $12 million budget, and it's already made that and more within opening weekends, and just due to the good marketing, and it actually hit like a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes too, which was nuts. I easily expected
this. It already hit over 126 million. So
yeah,
it's like what, 2 weeks in?
2 weeks in, man. It's really good movie. If you just go in lighthearted and you don't read too deep into certain things, I think this one's a winner. It's only like an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and some change, so it isn't that long. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't take itself too seriously at times. Of course, M3GAN can be ridiculous, but the message is in there, and it is deep, and it does have you wonder about how fast sometimes we're moving to improve AI. Bashtin, I know you're a futurist. You're always thinking about what's next and what the future is, and I love that. I love that about you. I just think sometimes, I know that when creators create, the intention isn't to do any sort of harm, but what happens when that creation has a mind of its own, and that creation decides to murder people. That's all I'm saying.
Isn't that the plot for Terminator 2?
That is the plot for Terminator 2. That's the plot for iRobot. That's the plot for all of these like AI centric movies. Okay, and M3GAN is no different. But the difference is with M3GAN, it's a robotic doll that can be manufactured to different children because it's still a toy. So they're gonna manufacture M3GAN out. So yeah,
that's very interesting, and it does fit into what we were discussing before, talking about like tech companies and just growing too big, growing too quickly. It's also maybe testing something in the market a little bit longer before just like jumping the gun and saying like, hey, we're going to, Clubhouse, for example, probably needed another like 2 years of testing it. It's still in beta in a way for Android too, right? It's still in beta. but
Wait, is it still beta? I thought it's like
it's
finished.
finished. Oh well.
Yeah,
Well, it took a
but
long time for it to
exactly,
be in beta, and by the time Twitter already dropped theirs, hence it was good to go. So something
it
like
was over.
this is like the AI is working on it. They pitch it to investors, and it does talk about. It's interesting. I haven't seen the movie, but from the way Gio describes, it does talk about today's world and how we
Mhm.
spent too much time and money on AI when we should just talk about the core problem, the kids.
Mhm.
You know, the kids has a core
Exactly.
problem. The toy's not going to solve it and shouldn't solve it. We human
Right.
beings and empathy should still be there.
Exactly, because Katie isn't antisocial.
Hmm.
Katie is getting antisocial, and she is dealing with the traumatic effects of losing her parents as well. And so, the doll can't be the guardian. The doll can't be that. She's gonna have to go out into the real world and learn how to develop and interact with different kids and all that sort of stuff. So it's definitely a powerful message. And you see how Katie sort of becomes very dependent on Megan. So it's available on streaming now, Bashtin, because I know you don't like going to theaters, so you can definitely watch it on streaming if you want.
Where is it really already?
Oh yeah, already. They don't play when it comes to streaming anymore. It'll be out and streaming like 2-3 weeks. So it's out on streaming already. You can go check it out on Amazon and YouTube and all that jazz. If you want to pay for it, it's gonna be cheaper, obviously. But
Very interesting.
if you want to be like me, go to the theaters and watch the communal experience like I did. It's still available on theaters as well too. So, you know,
Well, speaking of movies,
yes.
the Oscar nominees were announced the other day.
That's right. This past Tuesday, the Academy Awards, and Allison Williams was reading off on the nominations as well. So that's pretty cool. Tie it back into Allison Williams. And Bastion, have you taken a look at these Academy Award nominations? I know you don't really care like that.
Yeah, because I'm more of a TV person.
Yeah, you're an Emmy guy.
But yeah, I did pay attention to most of the things. I don't know if he's seen most of these movies.
I will tell you the movies that I saw. Let's just go to like the
The top.
let's go to the top ones, okay? Let's go to the one that everyone always wants to know. What are the movies that have been nominated for Film of the Year? Hold on, I have them. My apologies. Okay, here we go. So for the 95th Academy Awards, coming off of the 94th Academy Awards, which was one of the most talked about Academy Awards of all time, we have Top Gun Maverick, which I'm shocked that this is on the list, but it's a good movie. We have
What is the category called?
Best Picture.
Best Picture? Oh, okay.
Yes. Everything Everywhere All at Once, great movie. Women Talking, The Banshees of Inisherin. I did not see that movie. Hold on. Still, wait. Apologies. All Quiet on the Western Front. That's on Netflix. Definitely take a look at that movie. I'm happy at the fact that we as American cinema is getting rid of or just weaning away from World War II films. Now, you know what we're doing? We're doing World War One films. So similar to like 1917 and yeah. Definitely check a look at that movie. Elvis, I saw that movie. Yeah. What else? We got Tar. That was it's a movie about a composer, a woman composer. That's with Kate Blanchett. I didn't see it, but I know of the film. Bastion's favorite movie, Avatar: The Way of the Water.
Have you seen the movie?
Avatar?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Oh,
I saw Avatar 1 and I know what it's about. It's just a white savior movie. So screw the sequel. I'm not watching it.
Is
Triangle
it in 3D or no?
It can be in 3D if you want. There's a 3D version. It's not the standard, but you can see it in 3D. You can see it in
That's
Dolby.
why I didn't want to watch it, because it wasn't like The reason I saw it the first time was because the 3D was the standard.
Uh they're slowly bringing back 3D again, Bastion, and I
Only
don't
for
like.
where it needs to be, and Avatar's the only place it needs to be.
No, but they're also bringing it back for the new Ant-Man too, just coming out in a couple of weeks.
Ugh, I don't want to see that.
Nah, I want to see it for Kang the Conqueror. I ain't gonna lie,
Put
bro.
it
I
on
want to see
stream the same week, bro. Put it on
Jonathan
stream.
Majors B. I want to see that. Oh, and the Fablemans. I don't know what the Fablemans is about. Um, Out of this list, Bastion, I'm not gonna lie. Here's what I want to win in my heart. Okay, I legitimately want Top Gun Mavericks to win this because I really love that movie. The movie is fire. What I think should win though, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and that movie being the having the most nominations, I think with like 11 nominations, I'm happy to see that movie get the recognition that it deserves. So, I want Top Gun Maverick to win. I know it's not going to win, so I'm going to give it to Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is honestly one of my favorite movies of the year as well. That's definitely like my top 3. What about you on this list? Have you seen any of these movies on this list? I know you've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I haven't seen any of these movies.
Wait, what? You ain't see Everything Everywhere All at Once? I thought you did.
No, I'm a little late to it. It's not on streaming. I still have to pay for it.
Okay, definitely check out that movie. I highly recommend it. Top Gun Maverick. I just want you to, when you watch Top Gun Maverick, just look past the American pro-war
No,
propaganda.
I understand. I could see through that from movies.
Good,
it's only in discussions I'll bring it up.
Good.
I'm not thinking about it when I'm watching it.
You have Netflix, so go watch All Quiet in the Western Front. It's tight. It's a long movie though, but it's tight. I rock with it.
Cool.
Elvis, it's
only for the acting.
Yes, Austin Butler as Elvis is freaking incredible. Like, he scares me on how good he is as Elvis.
That's why they say he's gonna keep his accent. It's like cemented in him now.
Yeah, I get it. I would too if I was able to do that.
It's a great voice.
It's a great voice, man. Like, who would have thought?
It got slightly deeper. It got slightly deeper.
Who would have thought, man? This kid was on Zoe 101. Look at him now, man.
Word.
I would have never saw that coming. So yeah, check out Elvis. They try and make it seem like, oh, he wasn't racist and all that stuff. He cared about black people. Tar is cool. It is a bit boring. It's one of those it's one of those artsy films. So I'm not one of those cinema snobs. I'm not a big fan of that like that. The biggest snub that people have like are shocked at that got no nominations. Can you think of the film?
Nope.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And you know why, Bashtin? Because that movie sucks. So I'm happy they got no noms except for Keke Palmer. Keke Palmer should have got for best leading actress.
You know the movie doesn't suck. It just had to
it's not bad. I just didn't like it.
Compared to most of these movies, I could assume.
That's fair.
But I thought Nope probably the target audience in terms of the subject matter was dissing Hollywood. So for Hollywood to vote a movie dissing themselves,
right,
it wouldn't look good. So
that's fair.
Probably highbrow it and like, I'm not watching this, and moved on.
That makes sense. They'd rather nominate Babylon for best costume design.
Because if Elvis got nominated and no one really likes it, but they like the acting, Nope was the same energy. People loved the acting, but the plot just didn't hit the fan like everybody else. Come on, like Angela Bassett was nominated for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. That sentence, Angela Bassett, great. Wakanda Forever, not a movie I ever want to watch again.
Right, fair. It's not bad.
It wasn't. No, it was worse than Nope, because Nope, you could think of a story and we could discuss it. There's nothing to discuss about Wakanda Forever. There's no. If we read the comic book, we're not talking about it. There's nothing to talk about it. I'm selling it on eBay the next day. There's nothing to talk about. What happened in this book? I don't remember. That's it.
Come on, yeah, you do. T'Challa dies, and Talu Khan, and Kul Khan, the serpent.
What's the story?
Oh, Sherry isn't done grieving with the loss of her brother.
Okay, I understand that, but that's not the whole movie.
It's not. And remember, this is like a 3-hour movie.
That's why I'm.
Too.
See, we're not
This is
talking
like
about it.
Endgame.
We're not talking about it. But
We're not.
I'm just trying to say, if you're putting Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and you're not putting like Nope in one category, rigged.
That's fair.
If you put Ana de Armas in Blonde, and Blonde, I never saw it. No one saw it. Everybody dissed it straight off the rip. They're saying that she couldn't act, so they had to dub it. Like, the actress in the leading role, she was nominated. Come on, bro. Racism, straight up. That's it. No cap.
You know what? I agree.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
At least Nope get nominated for one thing. These are two movies I just named that no one likes. That no one's talking about. There ain't a million articles, okay? TDE was not part of the Black Panther soundtrack, okay?
That is true.
There's one creepy song that made its meme around TikTok, but, anyways.
You know what? I actually didn't listen to the full Black Panther 2 soundtrack, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll send you the song after the show.
Okay,
I'll probably play it next week. It's my week next week, so I'll probably play it next week to end the show.
Sounds like a deal. Batman got nominated for a couple of stuff: best visuals, best cinematography. I'm hyped off of that because, yeah, man, Batman's good. I don't think it's gonna win best visual effects though. I think it should, but that's straight up. I think this one is definitely gonna go towards Avatar: The Way of the Water. Unfortunately,
they don't have to.
They don't have to, but I have a feeling they will. Okay,
out of respect.
I guess, man. I guess even Black Panther got nominated for best visual effects, which I disagree. But hey, whatever. Oh hell, even if they even give it to Top Gun Maverick too, I'm telling you, man, Top Gun Maverick's really good, man. It's tight. It's really good movie. All Quiet in the Western Front as well too, because they perfectly capture World War I. I'm a sucker for war movies. I don't know why. They're good. Another movie that was just not in this that I was shocked at because I know a lot of the Caucasians enjoyed. I thought it was cool. The Northman, Alexander Skarsgård. That was it was like a revenge film.
Yeah, my little brother said it was great. I haven't watched it.
It was tight. It was cool. Your boo Anya Taylor-Joy's in it. Good film. Oh yeah.
What's the menu? Yeah, I was gonna say
the menu. You a-holes. No, The Menu. Love that film.
It wasn't nominated.
No, none of that was, man.
Wait. Before the show ends, I just want to talk about writing adapted the screenplay and writing original screenplay. What do you know the difference? I don't know the difference.
Oh, so original screenplay is the movie is straight up original, so it's not written off of, it's not based off of any sort of like book. It's not based off any movie that you might have seen or that might have been lended from this movie. This is straight up 100% original. And so I remember Black Panther won best writing for original screenplay. And so that's the difference between the original and adapted screenplay, because adapted can be taken from a different movie or a book or whatever.
Black Panther wasn't adapted. Black Panther won adapted screenplay. You said?
Well, yeah, it's adapted.
Oh, okay. You said original. You said original.
Original, yeah.
Okay, because Glass Onion got nominated for adapted screenplay.
I wonder what that was adapted from.
The first movie.
Ah. Okay. All right.
No, but like, why is it? It just came out. Like, how did it? Okay.
I guess it would be from the first film then, because you're still using the same main character, which is the detective, right?
Yeah.
And then Top Gun Maverick, obviously.
And then you look at the animated feature film, Pinocchio, Marcel Shell with the shoes on, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. You gotta give it to Turning Red.
Oh yeah, that's the panda movie, right?
Yeah.
Red Panda. I keep calling it Red Panda. I swear to God, I know our mutual friend Shadman said this movie was great, but if they give that award to the damn Shell movie, I'm flipping ish. No. I'm not. No. Just no. Give it to Puss in Boots. Damn it. I didn't even see Puss in Boots, but give it to Puss in Boots.
You didn't like the
Please.
Shell movie?
No, I didn't want to see the Shell movie because it looked stupid. There's a shell looking for its family.
Can't judge a book by its cover, bro.
Yeah, I know. Well, guys, it's time to wrap up the show. I thought this was a great show today. This went by really fast. I'm surprised it's almost 2:00. Thank you again for tuning into Black Seinfeld, the show about nothing. I don't know what else to say. Do you have anything else to say before we go, Bashtin?
We will see y'all next week.
Take care. We're going out to No Worries. That is Knowledge and Anderson .Paak featuring her with Where I Go. Take care, everyone. See you next week in February. Black History Month, my favorite month. Take care. Peace.
Peace.